think I stared at his perfect, rakish little mustache. I was panicked in his company, and no doubt overcompensated by overtalking. When he got a chance, Ellison told me a sweet allegorical story about a poor man he had watched pulling the newspaper out of a trash bin. He told me I should think of that anonymous garbage picker as my imagined model reader. I no longer recall how I responded. I remember only having no idea what he was talking about. Several years later, I read Ellison's autobiographical essay, The Little Man at Cheat Hall Station, and I recognized that he had offered me a variation on the theme of that piece, a dramatic argument against naive presumption. As ever, Ellison was thinking about the elusiveness of identity, and as always, he saw both tyranny and grace in anonymity. One of the things I've never talked about that I just thought, sitting here, I might add, that kept me returning to Ellison, the little correspondence we had, was I found myself inevitably drawn to the mystery of his unproductivity for the last decades of his life, and it resonated so deeply in me, because I don't know about you guys, but every time I sit down to write, I feel like drunken with self-doubt. I feel like a fraud, a poser. I feel incompetent, and I feel like I could never do maybe what I did before, what people expect of me, and it's horrible and insidious, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a psychotic. But that's what I go through, and I was, and I imagine at first I thought, well, Ellison's going through this, but then later I saw, no, he's not. He's been writing every day. Somehow he's facing this demon and he's triumphing over it, and I started to see him as a hero for that reason.
Do you think that so with the final novel, Juneteenth, do you feel like that was what he was working on all the time?
Oh, he was. There's no question. There's no question. Yeah, there's no question. It's and it's a testament to the power of the creative imagination. Like he ultimately would not give in to those doubts.
And you talk about, and you finish your essay with you say how you had brought that copy of this little man to one of your meetings with him.
Yeah.
With the intention of having him sign it, but you could never bring yourself to.
I couldn't. I was embarrassed to have this cheap used copy with somebody else's marks in it, and then I was afraid he would look at it and he'd see what was underlined and think, he doesn't understand my work at all. So I didn't show it to him.
When we get back to the essence of the book, I love you.
Right back at you.
Let's talk about what the book is about.
Well, I think that yeah, no, especially.
What? No, because I don't think that's our mission.
No, well, I think I think to bring it back around is the idea that I was thinking a lot about these writers, Ellison and Parker and Camus and Nabokov and all these deceased writers, and what would they think of the whole ebook thing?
Mm-hmm.
Would they embrace that technology? Would they shun it? So I don't know if what you think might be the case, or do you think that, and what your opinion is of it? Have you found that David?
Well, I've thought maybe to say about this. I mean, the text transcends delivery platform. The text is the text. And the text endures whether it's on paper or whether it's on the Kindle or whether it's on iPad. It's still invisible, man. So I thought our mission here is to talk about kind of extra-textual matters. And what it is specific about the book is an object that has some meaning to us. I really think there's a danger in us seeing both the text and the electronic delivery systems in exclusionary terms, or exclusive terms. I mean, can I say one more point? I feel like I'm kind of bogarting that. That's a terrible reference. Stonewalling. I was thinking again while we're sitting here of Jon Voight in Mission Impossible. the film adaptation of the 60s television show. There's a moment early in the film where a stewardess asks, he's on a plane traveling somewhere. Stewardess says, "Sir, would you like a movie?" He says, "No, I prefer the theater." And he doesn't take a movie. Now, the moment is designed by Hollywood in its twisted self-loathing to demonstrate that this character is a person with an elevated mind. And we know that by the fact that he prefers an art form of the past over the art form of the present. It's also intended to show that he's deluded, because that the character is susceptible to delusion, because we all know that theater and movies aren't mutually exclusive. They coexist. We all know that. And I think we should remember that now. I love, every time there's an introduction of a new technology, the culture acts out a panic narrative. Every time. I mean, it happened with film, it happened with radio, it happened with television, it's happening again. And there's no reason to think that these two delivery systems won't endure. And I mean, I think we could love the book, and I love my iPad. I mean, I could love my iPad in different ways. I love my wife and my mom. It's a different love.
What do you use your iPad for?
I borrow the iPad from Columbia. There are 3 iPads available for the faculty, and we borrow them. I bring it home. I love it. Sometimes I read on it. Yeah, I read with my son on it. Sometimes I read magazines. I travel with it sometimes. It's terrific. So's this. I mean, I don't think we have to think in these exclusive. I don't think we have to think of them as mutually exclusive. And I really think that there's no need to demonize electronic delivery, and still love the book.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, David's right. I mean, the text is still there, and it survives. It's delivered differently. I was thinking today about some young Marine grunt, in Kandahar today with a Kindle or an iPad, which they all have, or and reading The Stranger on his Kindle. It'll still mean the same. The text will still mean the same thing to him. 20 years later, he won't. Maybe he'll write about reading The Stranger on his Kindle. It'll be sitting on his desk rather than in a bookshelf next to other books. But Camus will still matter regardless of how it's delivered. But there's still something for me, like the physical object. I have a Kindle, and this summer I was on an RV trip with my dad, and I was on the Mexican Arizona border, and I couldn't sleep because I was on an RV trip with my dad, and I was like, I need to read Slaughterhouse-Five now, for whatever reason. And I whipped out my Kindle, and I started reading it 45 seconds later. And there was no used bookstore anywhere near where I was in the middle of a cactus desert. And that my Kindle saved me a little that way. Perhaps even kept my father alive. And sure, I mostly have periodicals on it. I'll still be, like right now I'm lugging around Steve Cole's Ghost Wars, the history of the CIA, Afghanistan to 2001. It would be easier for me to drag that thing on the train or around in my Kindle, but I'm going to mark that book up. I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to read to friends from it. I can't do that same thing on my Kindle because I never know what page I'm on, number one. And I haven't yet figured out how to make notations.
Do you feel like the Kindle is more conducive to reading fiction or nonfiction, or old books versus new books, or do you have any?
I don't know that I have an opinion there. I have a few more nonfiction titles on it than fiction titles. The only fiction title I've downloaded is a Miley Malloy story collection. Most of the other books are nonfiction, and then it's other than that, it's mostly periodicals.
Okay.
But I probably will go out and buy a copy of that Miley Malloy book because it's a really fantastic book, and I want to have that.
Right. Do you have an iPad or Kindle or?
I do not. My boyfriend has a Kindle, so we're constantly talking about this and debating it. He says he has read more, concrete, purchased more concrete actual books since getting the Kindle. In a way, just reading begets reading, I think. I think that's true for a lot of people, so that's wonderful. I was at a conference recently, and there was a rare book scholar there, and he read this anxious letter about, from one writer to another, saying, we have to resist this paper thing. You know, tablets are forever, meaning actual tablets, not our current tablets, stone tablets. And paper is nothing. It can disintegrate. It can be destroyed so easily, and we can't let this happen to writing. And I feel like the same conversation is happening now about reading electronically. I mean, I do worry about letters as an art form in a way, too, because emails, you know, will they last? But in some ways, they'll last longer than any letter.
Right.
Which is scary, but...
Well, I think one of the contributors, Phil Meyer, writes in the book that we've almost taken for granted old-fashioned books. The technology is so advanced that Kindle or an iPad, that battery will last for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before you have to replace it. Whereas, this, unless it's burned or whatever, maybe it needs to last for hundreds of years. So I thought that was a very astute point. But I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I think they can coexist. So I think that's, if there's any questions from the audience, we can maybe take a couple, and otherwise, Jim?
Yes. I left my Kindle in the car, which I'd like to go get. Books are like old friends. You go up there and you see them on a shelf, and you remember where you were at that time when you saw it. Girlfriend, boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. And we can throw them all away. We can say, oh, Kindle, I'm going to read the Kindle. I'm going to read the Kindle. Fuck you. You're not going to read the Kindle. You're going to say, I got the Kindle, and I'm going to, but you don't read it. You're just going to get it, and you're going to, thank you.
Do you find that do you feel like having that, having spent the money on that, does it force you to?
I didn't spend the money. I got it for free. Yeah.
Or to the Kindle?
I didn't spend the money. It was a gift.
I would, yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about, when you make that purchase of $400, $500, if that's any incentive to spend, like I have to download a book now. I've made all this investment, or I don't know. I don't own one. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't make financial sense
No.
if you're purchasing a Kindle or one of these things, because even if books are cheaper, I mean, if you're thinking the pure money, I'm going to save money and build an electronic library, so you're in the hole for a while, right?
Right. Any other questions? Anybody? Well, I just want to thank the 3 panelists here for being thank you guys for coming out. Keep reading whatever it's on. So thank you.
Hey, David, will you sign?
Thank you all.
Oh, I'd be honored
Come on up
to,
and meet
sure.
them.